Welcome back to the Coruscant Knights podcast. We're very happy to have you here today. My name is Cooper. Alongside me, as always, is the superbly insightful Mark
Hello there.
and the astonishingly sagacious Jack.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Today, well, what there's no surprise. We're talking about the Ahsoka finale. Um, uh, we haven't. This is the first time ever in our 36 episodes,
Mm.
which is crazy that we've got that far, but first time that we have not spoken a single word to each other about
Legit.
what our thoughts are. Like even
Going into
in
a
our little
dark.
pre-chat, we were just avoiding the topic. What we hear today is the first time we're hearing it. I don't know what these guys think. They don't know what I think.
I don't know what
So
they think.
yeah, um, today's a very special episode. Not only because of this reason, but because we've got a very special announcement coming at the end. Something that we're all looking forward to, very forward to, and something that I think's been a long time in the making, and is something that's finally gonna come to fruition, I guess. I'm gonna go through the usual. We're on all the social medias. I don't even need to list them anymore. You know where we're at. And a
Cool.
big thank you to everyone who has joined us throughout this series. I mean, we're averaging about 150 views per podcast for the Ahsoka series, which is great. I think that's a lot more than what
Thank you
any
guys
one of
so
us
much.
imagined. Yeah, so we really appreciate the support throughout this series, and we've got big plans coming up for the end of the year and into next year as well with new shows, etc. And lastly, a big thank you to Ben and Nikita, our patrons, for always supporting us. If you want to join them, we got links in Instagram bio, and you'll get bonus content, exclusive content, member shout out, etc. So that's there for you if you want. Okay, I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say. We're gonna start with Mark because he's fresh out of watching it.
I
Hmm.
am. And mine isn't really, I don't think much of this is actually opinionated. This is more just things I noticed or,
Facts.
yeah. So I'll probably do my opinions later on when the other two speak. But let me just, I wrote the notes as I was watching, so I'm just going to read them out in order. It
Mm.
started off with good intro music.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that intro music compared to
Can
usual.
I interrupt already?
Go for it. Go for it.
It was it was
Menacing.
very similar to the opening one for episode one, but
Mm.
like before the title crawl, but it just
It was
felt
before
a
the
bit
title.
more like dramatic.
The drumming
I
was
liked it. Yeah, the drums. Yeah.
Yep. It really made, it really brought the suspense right to the start.
great.
My second point was, and this is kind of I knew it, hyperspace ring for the Chimera.
Yeah.
Like some people weren't so convinced, but we got there in the end.
Is that a bolder claim as you saying that Padme was going to show up in this series?
Oh yeah, it's much bolder.
No.
No, of course not. Next, this I think this may be my favorite shot of the episode, and there were many good shots, including the one behind Cooper up there on his background. The shot of Thrawn when the TIE fighters were leaving the ship, the
Oh yeah.
Chimera. That
Mm.
was one of my favorite shots, probably of the whole show.
Yeah, it was
I don't know,
cold.
it was just so badass. Like
Yeah, it was pretty
the
cold.
camera under Thrawn and the TIE fighters just coming from behind. My my next comment was Ezra's lightsaber was really cool, and it has a lot of obviously Kanan inspiration. And I want to know if you guys noticed this because I'm not sure if Cooper did, but I'm not sure if Jack did either. I feel like his lightsaber, because they all have different sounds, but it sounded very much like what I call a prequel lightsaber, but more specifically Anakin or Obi-Wan's lightsaber.
I
When
think
he
it's
pressed the when he pressed the button to retract it, it sounded like I was watching like episode 2 or episode 3 of Star Wars.
I think it's because of just the blue emitter. I feel like that's kind of like the
It
sound
could
that
be that, but
that
I don't
makes.
know because I feel like sometimes they're a bit different sounding.
I thought it was an
So,
interesting choice for them to go for him to go use the blue one though.
well,
I
I'm
thought,
not sure
Same.
why he wouldn't just take his old one.
yeah, I don't know. I was a bit like, wouldn't you want to teach Sabine to make a new one
Yeah,
for
that's
her?
a good point as well,
But
actually.
I don't know, just yeah, interesting. Anyway, continue.
Yes. One of my most confusing points was how did they survive a turbo laser strike
Mm.
when when they're on their creatures, running in an open field and the turbo lasers striking right down on top of them, and they
Well,
somehow didn't get hit by any.
mm.
What do you guys think? Did you think that as well?
Look, I overlook it now because every Star Wars property has plot armor. So
Yeah,
you,
I was gonna say plot armor.
Thrawn would have won by now. They would have all been
It's the
dead.
most it's the most obvious plot armor though, which I find kind of annoying.
Well,
I
actually,
made a note off of that, a new note on my list because
oh,
you mentioned the thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that I probably should mention that.
I like
Interesting.
it.
All right. I had a nice little comparison of Thrawn saying for the Empire, followed by Morgan saying for Dathomir.
Mhm.
So she really wasn't in it for him all along, I guess. Even though
Mm.
I kind of thought that she was for Thrawn the whole time.
I don't know. I felt like she was always referring to her cultural heritage. I think she was a lot more trying
Yeah.
to where she came
Well,
from.
I
And
thought she was more just using it as a means to
yeah,
help Thrawn in his endeavors, which to be fair, she was, but I thought she was, all
I
in
don't think
support
she,
of him.
yeah, I don't think she wanted to get left behind. No, she didn't seem very pleased about that. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yes. How interesting. This is a point that I especially wrote down because I knew if I didn't, people would say something. All season, I've been saying we are dangerously close to baseball bats. This episode was probably one of the better ones because, like, with the
Yes, also.
no, because with the strikes and the slashes and everything, it's the same as always. But there was what I call a hidden decapitation because I did it off screen, but you saw the head rolling on the
Ezra.
ground. Pardon?
Ezra's attack.
Was it Ezra? I can't
No, it was
remember. I thought it
Sabine.
was, yeah.
It was Ezra.
No, yeah,
No, it
maybe
was
it was
Sabine.
Ezra.
Interpretation of like the
I
death
don't think
troop.
it was Sabine.
It was Ezra. It was on the top, and
Well,
they cut.
I thought it actually. I think it is Ezra, but
I
I
watched it
originally thought it
twice.
was Ahsoka.
Watched it twice. No, it's
Yeah.
it's it's Ezra because it's after Sabine like does the Kylo Ren through the head, and then Ezra
Yes.
the thing to him and goes.
Yep. Mm, that's right.
Okay.
I called a hidden one, a hidden decapitation, because he did it behind a pillar, so they didn't really want to show it on screen. But it is something at least. Like there were so many times I reckon that an arm or a leg should have come off, and it would have
Yeah,
made more sense with zombies as well. But
yeah, that's true. That's true.
like if they just keep slashing at these zombies and they fall down, they're just going to keep getting back up.
hmm
You've got to
hmm
dismember them.
mm mm.
So I don't know
Mark's
why
the
they.
strategist. What? Come on, get him on a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
No, but man, this was their golden opportunity, and they somewhat did it, I guess, but they could have done a lot more.
Mm.
Why didn't Ezra take off his stormtrooper helmet or armor prior to meeting Hera?
And straight away, too. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I thought it
They're
was
all pointing guns at him, and I'm thinking he's a stormtrooper. They're gonna most likely shoot him straight away.
yeah.
But
Also, had Chopper know.
pardon?
And Chopper know it was Ezra.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking
It's
that. How did Chopper know?
uh, I don't know. I think yeah, it's interesting.
It was still cool though, like that they reunited. But
However, okay, here's my point about that scene in particular, because I don't want to talk about it in mine because it was so small.
yeah,
Why so overjoyed though? Like he still left behind his mates. So
yeah.
like he didn't even show any bit of like remorse. He was just like, hey Hera, I'm home. Like she just left everyone
Well,
else.
I don't think he should be remorseful, but he might be like
I'm back.
grieving kind of thing.
Yeah,
I
like
think.
I'm back Hera, but the others didn't make it.
Mhm.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Like, he looks so happy.
Yep.
Like every reunion has to be happy in the show. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
it's interesting.
I had one last point, but I'm actually going to mention that as well. Actually, should I? I'll get to it later. My one that I wrote was Balin and Shin are awesome as always, but I want to know what they are up to. And that was one of my things I said last episode. Like I don't want them to not explain what Balin's doing, and Jack's background might be a hint for something that he's going to do, but that's all it was, a hint. Like,
But that's
come on.
yeah. This is I'm just gonna say it now because everyone's thinking it. They initially announced that it was a limited series. Clearly, that intent was never the case because everything. I think this episode almost left with more questions than answers,
Yeah.
and I think that's where a lot of people are divided because I don't want to say my point yet, but I think it's more people are divided because it didn't close off a lot of people's stories in the way
Didn't,
that
and it left a lot of loose ends.
yeah, like even with Shin when she did the
Mm.
igniting, it's like what she's gonna rule over them, or is
That's
she
what I was
trying
going
to?
to say. That was my other thing. Is she going to rule over them or is she going to murder them all?
No, I thought she was probably gonna hire them to go find
Yeah, well, that's
Bail.
what I'm saying. She's probably going to rule over them. But
I'm just gonna say I don't think anyone got an ending to their story in this show.
I would beg to differ.
Well, what Ahsoka?
No,
Who?
I won't mention
Anakin,
it. Yeah,
Who?
I think
Anakin.
Anakin. Now,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
want to talk
okay.
about it yet. I don't want to. I don't want to go into it because. Okay, so for people listening, we kind of, apart from Mark, because he just came fresh from watching it, but me and Cooper were like, oh, you know, when we watch it, let's do a voice memo after, see how our opinions change even over the course of a day, right? So straight after, I was like, oh my gosh, seeing Anakin, does that mean we're eventually in another future thing we're going to see him commune with Ahsoka? But my opinions have actually changed a lot more, and I think that's more like his mission's kind of fulfilled, and that's the last we're going to get of him, which I respect, but I don't think I love because we still have never had an interaction with like Anakin being like, "How's Luke going?" or "Hi, Luke,
You
do you
know,
need help or something?" You know, like
I was going to leave the Anakin conversation for you because you clearly want to. But Nave maybe want to say at least
yeah,
one thing. So you can add to it later if you want. But I'm just thinking because Anakin kind of before all the Disney stuff had his ending with, when Luke burned the
mm,
Vader suit and the Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin were all there and everything's done. But now it's not really. There's a lot of stuff still going on.
but
So
the Force Ghosts were never ended though because it's like you know, he became a Force Ghost in that moment, but it was never like his story was ended there because we already saw that like the Force
but
Ghosts never actually died. We haven't seen
yeah,
the end
his
of.
story didn't well, I feel like it did well, it ended as a story, like full circle, because he's redeemed and he's come back to
Yeah,
the light.
but he could use his now profound knowledge and skills as a Force Ghost to help teach. And this is why I don't want to bring it up again. It somehow always happened. But this is what the sequels could have almost done. Like, why not incorporate some more Force Ghosts into the teachings of, such as Luke or something, when he's creating a temple and stuff, and what not to.
Mm,
Like,
yep.
it's almost like there's too many plot holes with the whole franchise because of how impactful Force Ghosts are shown to be. So it's like, why not like, or is it only certain times they can come in, or like, what's the go with them? We haven't actually got an exploration to like how they operate or how they function in this form.
Mm,
So it's,
yeah. Well, I think to carry on the other thing I was saving, I don't know how I feel about Ahsoka and Sabine being stranded because honestly, and I said last episode, I thought this would be the most likely ending, which it was. But the way the episode went out or went along, I feel like they would have made it to the ship. Like I was like, oh yeah, okay, they're gonna get back, but then they didn't. But that I was also kind of like, how did the Chimera get so far out so quick?
it
But
was moving
oh
rapid.
well, that's fine. That's how the show is. So
I feel
Yeah.
like this is a really good opportunity for me to say something because I've
go.
this is a point that just made me so angry. So you
Well,
talk about like, you know, thinking that it's going to get to the ship like the Chimera. There seemed to be no sense of urgency by them at all. They were hovering, going slower than I could walk for a good half of the episode when they didn't even know when Thrawn was going to leave. I was
Oh
just thinking
yeah,
throughout that
yeah.
whole time, guys, do you want to get back to the other galaxy? Because your best chance is about to leave. And here they are hovering over the ground to protect the freaking turtle
That's a
people.
good point, actually. I didn't even think of that. Why wouldn't they have just rushed straight away?
And I was thinking, like, even if it's to protect the turtle people, I forgot their name, but even to protect them, it makes them more of a target because the TIE fighters are going for the ship, which means they're more
Yeah,
likely to go
that's
for the turtle
true.
people.
is
I could not believe it. And
is
also, even more if I can continue, Ezra, he's shown he can fight without a lightsaber. So, like, if it was just for him to build a lightsaber, okay, fine. But if he can fight without a lightsaber, then what's the point of traveling that slow? Just if he can fight, go get on the ship already.
I've got
Anyway,
a
that's my
point with
And
next episode.
I've got a point with this too, however.
okay.
Thing that kind of annoys me about old blue man down the bottom here is I'm going to talk about him later because I'm actually probably one of the people in this so far that I've seen to in this episode to not be the overly. I don't know. He had some good moments, but I think there was some things, and this is one of the things I want to mention.
Jack.
He said he was waiting for the cargo to be full. He said he doesn't care about fighting the rebels or whatever, or if they get stranded here. Why the heck did they not just go straight away? They didn't need to make a ground assault. What is he on about? Just go, man. You have the ring there too. I don't. Oh, so it doesn't make sense.
Jack,
It's just yeah.
the first time ever you and I agree on something. I'll get into it later, but I did not like Thrawn in this episode.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He
Look,
just felt so off.
the only thing, he had some really dope lines, which like will be forever noted and stuff. But I thought he was a bit interesting in this episode. He did some more of those Disney Thrawn stuff that I'm talking about. The rebel stuff where he always goes, acceptable defeats. Like he never takes a defeat, even though he takes so many L's. Like, just admit, mate, so many L's and you're doing it again. Just it's not part of your plan, mate. You didn't want this to happen, but yeah, sure. Anyway,
You know
continue.
what? This is such a rare occasion because I think I almost fully, but not fully, disagree with the both of you. Because I thought Thrawn was really good in this episode. I didn't hear anything about the cargo though that you got. I know at the end they saw him loading on. But
The previous episodes, he goes, whether or not they make it back to the ship, or if Balin or your mercenaries make it back or not, we are going immediately. That's our number one priority, kind of thing.
because
The cargo was filled last episode. Like I know for plot's sake and for action and story, they have to not have him leave straight away. But that's when I don't like it when they're like, I'm waiting for this to be done or waiting for this to happen, because then it just leads to the most generic thing ever. Like they should have just been gone already. And then it almost would show more desperation in, wow, the rebels weren't quick enough kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's why I said I don't fully agree with you. I mean, yeah, I don't fully disagree with you because that's true. I didn't actually think about it during the episode, but they could have just left immediately.
Like
I don't know.
I don't know why
You
they-
raised the point, and now I can't stop thinking about it. Why wouldn't they have just left?
It's what I'm saying. The finales, I'm very divided. I'm very divided, to say the least. Yeah.
But in terms of what I was saying about Thrawn, I mean, I still think it was his pretty. Apart from that, probably his typical Thrawn self.
There's good lines in this episode,
Yeah.
especially. There's some.
I liked when he was saying like, "Will you become like what your master turned out to be?" That was cool.
And there's no reasoning with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. I was like, yeah.
I was surprised Sabine didn't actually question Ahsoka about what he meant.
No, well, probably would have wasted more talking dialogue time.
Well, they've already spoken about it.
Yeah, because
Because,
I don't
they
know.
did- Well, they trained together before they split
Well,
up.
then if they did, it was off
started.
camera, so we wouldn't.
Yeah,
know.
that's what I mean.
Just assume, I guess.
And I think I've only got one last thing really to mention that I thought about as we were talking. It's kind of going back to the Ezra lightsaber thing. Last episode, he was so against using a lightsaber, but then all of a sudden, this episode, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not only going to use a lightsaber, I'm going to build a lightsaber."
Who predicted that they were waiting for the finale to make him like some influential, impactful lightsaber thing? Like literally, that's why I didn't like last week's one with certain moments like that. They just dragging out something that just should happen instantly.
That's true. I feel like the whole season was dragging things out, to be honest. But,
yeah, I think it would have been a lot better as a movie. I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I'll end my point. So if we want to pass it on to Jack,
just before we do, Mark, can we get a score for what you thought of the episode?
I've already altered my original one. I don't think I'll alter it again. I think I'll go with 7.5.
Nice. Alrighty.
Okay.
So I will give my score after my spiel. Steven Spielberg. sorry. So let's kick things off on a good note. I actually, while watching it, I was pretty happy. I enjoyed a lot of the things that happened. Didn't have much to complain about, but then good old me, after watching it, I started to realize that some of the decisions and some of the things that happened weren't as good as what it could have been. And after the episode ended, I was like, wow, who would have expected this to happen? Like, it was so by the book. Like, from even episode 1, we would have known how the outcome was. It was, and this is what I'm frustrated about. They dragged out all these, like the one thing that we didn't really know anything about was Balin's story. I almost wanted this show to focus on him as a villain rather than Thrawn at this point, because I'm like, everything else is so generic apart from Balin's kind of endeavors. You know what I mean?
Double
So
thumbs up.
yeah, so it's this episode was okay, in my opinion, overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode far more than last week. Like, I hands down, I did not like last week's at all. It's probably still my second least favorite of the show as a whole. This one, however, it I know it happened in the Clone Wars with resurrecting people and all that kind of stuff, but for some reason, all the stuff with the Dathomirian mothers and stuff, and even the imprinting on the face and stuff, it just felt so cheesy. It just felt very what's the word, like over exaggerated, the top, like whoa. And even when she went with her hands like this, like I was like, yeah, like you know how she did and it made it just a loud sound, like nothing happened. But okay, I don't know, it just this whole, and then Thrawn just standing there like this the whole time.
Yeah, I find it funny how he was just standing there watching.
What, you're gonna say something, you're gonna go and do something, like, oh. And once again, everyone's forgetting to mention this. I know, like, we obviously have more shows or seasons or movies to come because everyone's story is still left open, but Enoch did nothing.
Except at one point, walk like an NPC. Did you notice?
That's true. Yeah, I did notice that one.
At the start. Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah. Mark didn't mention this, and I'm very, very divided on this. Sabine using the Force.
I knew you were going to mention that.
My thing, which I was going to attack Cooper for, I think Cooper will thoroughly enjoy this. I reckon. Is that right?
I don't know. You have to find out.
Do you want to know what I thought?
Yeah, go.
Honestly, I didn't think much of it, which is surprising. No, the point is it's surprising because I was saying in the last few episodes that I'm not really a fan of her using the Force, but this time I don't know why. I just didn't feel weird this time.
It's almost, I'm the opposite. Now, obviously, it's not like they just did this out of nowhere. I know they were teasing it and everything. However, every time a character's going to die, some like Force always kicks in, like generic once again, right? And straight after that, she's like, "Yep, I'm beast with the Force. I'll Force push Ezra up to the ledge."
Well, okay, so I almost okay. Yeah, sorry, you go.
No, go.
I was gonna say, I feel like it might have almost. You guys are gonna have a go at me for this. I almost feel like it was an awakening in the Force. Sound familiar?
I was gonna say
that she's unlocked that ability now, and I don't know.
Work like that though. Like I feel like she has to still train, especially.
I feel like it was more of just a adrenaline sort of thing. Like she was gonna die, she didn't do it.
Oh well, maybe that one. But no, I'm talking about the one where she mainly forced Ezra. That uses a great ton of power and skill, and she hasn't even been trained. Like she didn't like even move a cup before. Like like so. And I'm gonna say it, and I don't want to be one of those people, but it's a Mary Sue-like situation with Rey. And I'm not saying it's because she's a female. I'm just saying it's because they clearly said throughout the whole show she's got the worst Force ability ever. She's got no potential at all, basically, but then does that when other characters probably will take ages and years to do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just yeah, go for it.
Can I comment on your Mary Sue thing? I didn't think of it at this point, but if she continues in future projects to be able to use the Force so much, then I might start to agree with you.
But the thing was, though, I thought back in the day too, and like also with Grogu, right, being a Mandalorian Jedi, what are you trying to say? Most Mandalorians can now just, or like most people. I'm like, it used to be a rare occurrence having a Mandalorian Jedi. Now she's technically a Mandalorian Jedi. Like aside from the initial first one, which gives me like icky vibes because I'm like, really? Like
I don't know, but wouldn't you rather it be Sabine than someone completely random?
No, but we had Grogu always preparing for this role anyway. With greater, it makes more sense too because he's adopted into it, not just some random man. Like she hasn't even in the Rebels and stuff. She never really showed any skill apart from combat. Like she never was. It was never teased that she really had Force abilities in Rebels until like this show, really. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it was.
I disagree.
No, because she's blocked out. That's the only comment Kanan made when doing the trials of the Darksaber. Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say that in the same episode, Kanan mentions that as you start to like understand the blade, as the Force channels through you into the blade, it stops becoming heavy. And that's what happened. She made comment that the blade feels lighter, which in my mind makes me think that, oh yeah, okay, she's channeling her Force, inner Force, to to be able to
Exactly.
wield that lightsaber.
Should that makes sense for her, but being able to be like a strong force wielder, which it looks like, like I know it's just a force push in the end, but it's still quite a feat, right?
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
I'm saying you don't know where they're going to take with her anymore, but it's more just like I don't know. Back in the day, I thought it was still to this day, I thought it was like a real hard, like hadn't happened for centuries, right? Like having another Mandalorian Jedi. Now we've just got Sabine. Like I
Well,
don't know.
what I thought you were saying before, I must have misinterpreted. I thought you were saying that in both directions, it's odd for someone to just become Mandalorian like Grogu because they're normally it's just the Mandalorian clan, and that it's hard to be a Jedi if you don't have the Force, and yet both of those things have happened.
Well, no. Well, becoming a Mandalorian, not so much. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like he got adopted into the culture, and they say it's
Yeah.
incredible. That makes sense, but he already had the Force. You know what I mean? Like no
No,
other Jedi.
yeah, I'm not referring to the Force when I refer to Grogu. I'm only referring to the Mandalorian part.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my little tangent. I thought, yeah, they had to do it for the thing, but then also when they played the Force, like the actual Force theme when she forced Ezra up, and I was like, really? You're giving her like the Skywalker Force theme for Sabine? I was like, okay, interesting. I'm like, well, you're not. I was always like to feel like they're sidelining Ezra again in this bit. Like they're putting a greater emphasis on Sabine a lot more than Ezra. When I'm like, everyone forgets that Ezra. This is Ezra's also first time live action. Not many people know who he is, even probably more less than Sabine. Like, why are we not getting more Ezra stuff? Like maybe now we will because he's the only one back that can report about Thrawn and everything. Maybe that's what they're planning to. But this is my main issue with this episode and show as a whole. It's just once again doing this building up to something greater. And this is where I have a problem with it because when you go back to rewatch it, you're almost like rewatching the first baby steps of a greater thing. I'd rather go watch the end result than some little prequel bit, you know what I mean? Unless it was a movie, because movies
Mm.
are easier to watch and get through than episodic shows that are, you know, like it's a good at the time of watching it, but then rewatchability wise, I'm just like, it's not even a show on its own identity. It's leading to like a multiversal threat kind of thing almost, you know, like with Thrawn coming back. And for example, and this is a hot take, and all respect to the decision of what Disney do and what Ray Stevenson's family do and stuff, but you really can't end his story here. You have to recast.
Yeah.
Like, unless the family and all that don't want to do it, then sure, I'm happy with whatever they say that. But if they do give the word for it, then Disney have to do it because you can't. This the reason why I have it as my background is because it's so. This is what I was saying about creativity. This is so like I know we've seen it in like the Rebels artwork, we've seen the Mortis arc in Clone Wars, but this is so monumentous and grand and something of large power and unpredictability. And this is what I want from Star Wars, like some more mythical, godlike elements. And seeing this shot at the end, I was just like, wow, I would have preferred the finale to focus more on this than whatever the basic action, generic, cheesy, oh, like they fly now, like, oh, I've never seen these guys be revived again, kind of thing. Like, it's just, I don't know. It just, when you get something so cool like this and such a impactful arc and like, and stuff that will revolutionize the galaxy as a whole, like, is he going to Abeloth, the mother? Like, what is the father pointing to? Like, you know, something huge. And it's like, when you get something like this compared to what we had for the whole show, why wasn't the show more focused about this rather than like about the mystery of Peridia rather than Thrawn's return almost? It's like, oh, you have two really pretty cool stories that you're not giving enough time for one or the
That's
other.
true.
You know what I mean? So as a whole, this episode was fun, but I think it did really let down on execution wise and because I think because I know that there's going to be future installments, which I think lowers it a lot for me. And as I said before about Anakin's Force Ghost at the end, I thought it was cool, but what's with Disney always having these Force Ghosts just show up at the end,
Yeah,
like everyone, like
that was
it's
what I
almost,
was thinking
yeah, I'm
when I
just like,
saw it.
and then Thrawn in this episode, he did a lot of weird decisions, like what we mentioned before. He also just he was getting defeated almost so easy. Like he didn't look like he was one step ahead, like he was trying to say. Like he reinforced this all the time, but he's never succeeded yet. We actually have barely seen him succeed. And if you're going to call him escaping a success, well, because he had the aid of the Dathomirians and stuff, he didn't do anything really. Take Thrawn out of the equation, Enoch could have done the same decisions because it wasn't really that smart. And that's where my issue is. And this is why I was almost hesitant of knowing Thrawn's going to make a return and stuff, because he's a character that really emphasizes intelligence. And I know words and vocab can do that, but his actions haven't equated to it. He's said all this grand stuff and all this stuff about being one step ahead, but we've still never really seen it happen. He's easily bested by them walking through the front door. Like, oh man, like it just I don't know. It's just a lot of these things makes me boil a bit, because it's like everyone's praising it. Like a lot of people are praising this episode. Like, how can you hate on this? This Filoni saved Star Wars. But I'm like, how can you say that? There's so many like still errors that I'm like, you can't call, like, even for me who loves the prequel movies and stuff and Revenge of the Sith, there's still errors within it. I don't like it when people like to just give utmost appraisal to something that really doesn't deserve it. Like this show was fun. It was enjoyable, great score, great characters. It did a lot of great things, but I thought the plot was really basic and drawn out and just not that innovative. And the most innovative bit of the plot was with a new character, Balin. So it's like, wow, like where do our priorities lie? It should be almost
with whom we have no idea what happened.
Yeah, like I was like almost rather a show about these guys than Ahsoka. Like, I'm sorry, but like
I would easily watch that.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like I don't know. It's people are ragging on it too harshly, I think, but then people are praising it way too much, way too much. It does not deserve this much appraisal. Like it's good, and it's probably one of the best. It's next best to Andor, but Andor fits as we say, you can't really compare them. But this is the best known characters live action show that I think we've had, aside from like Andor being like a spy espionage kind of thing, thriller. But overall, that's my thoughts. My rating of the episode actually on the voice memos initially, I'm going to tell the audience this. I initially gave it a 7.5 to 8. Like I didn't have a definitive one, but after all this, it's dropped to a 7. It's a flat 7 indeed. Yeah.
I actually forgot to mention my initial, because I gave it a 7.5, but my initial was an 8.
Ooh, yeah. So we all both went down by half. So it's interesting and that's why I said to the lads on the podcast here that it would be interesting to do voice memos and kind of keep track, because it changes so often. You know, like we did our rewatch of the whole movies, but it could change next year again. You know, like that's the thing with movies and how you grow and mature as a person. You know, you see things differently. You might like different stuff eventually and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this episode gave me that kind of mixed emotions. But I definitely enjoyed it a lot more than mine, for just the enjoyment factor, 100%. Yeah.
Now, if it's all right with Cooper, I know he's itching to start his
yeah.
But I want to mention one last thing, actually. The title of the episode was The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. That sounds... Now, I don't know if this is intentional. It sounds exactly like Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yep.
What's with that?
Magical mystery element.
Is it just because they're both Disney or something? Or
No, I think it's because, one, it's a play on obviously the Disney property, but I think it's also like quite punny, because there's like a witch. There's as the title says, they're the most.
Because it was, yeah. I mean, it is what it says on the box, but
but
it just looks funny.
Yeah, it's a good callback to, I think a lot of people probably wouldn't even know about Narnia. I think a lot of people would be like, what's that? But
when I go to say the name of the episode, I almost say The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe instead of The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord.
Well, Warlord and Wardrobe sound similar, so
yeah,
I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I relinquish, and Cooper can go on his bit now.
Okay, all right. First of all, I would like to say, and on behalf of everyone, condolences to the Stevenson family for the loss of Ray. He brought something really special to Star Wars, and it's a shame we can't see him move forward. And especially since this was his last performance, I know he didn't get any dialogue, but even just standing him there, it was pretty emotional to see.
It was a great shot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, in the context of that's pretty important to be there. But regardless, we extend our sympathies. The other thing I'd like to mention before I get started is that we as Star Wars fans, we can love it, we can hate it, but we're lucky to get this series.
Oh yeah.
Like just the amount of effort and work that goes into creating something like this. Jack, it might not be like you said, the plot didn't intrigue you, that's
Oh,
fine. But there are
yeah.
so many other elements that just are so special to see. I think getting Anakin in 4 episodes is just incredible, and being able to continue this show or his story in this show is just really special.
Yeah,
Now that I've got
100%.
now that I've got that out of the way, where to start? I've written an essay about how much I blanked this episode. So I'm going to rank it as an average to okay episode.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
said, and I'm going to read off my list here.
Oh,
By
is
the
this
end, I felt more confused than satisfied because of all the things that were left unexplained. And it didn't help that I pretty much predicted everything that was going to happen.
Yeah.
I explained to Jack last week, I said pretty much everything that happened this week, except I said Sabine would probably get home with Ezra. But I'm glad she stayed because it kind of reinforced that actions have consequences. It's not fair that she was the one to head over there and allow Thrawn to come back and then also be allowed to go back.
Yeah.
That's
And
just,
it's a callback, whatever you want to call it, to Ahsoka and Sabine. They're gonna stick together.
yes, definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. Then God. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go from next. I kind of go into positive next. I'm just gonna go. Okay, positives. I love that there were consequences for the future. I like that Thrawn getting away was like something that happened. I mean, I
Mm.
knew it was going to happen, but at least now there's an actual threat out there in the galaxy beyond the First Order. Well, even if that's going to happen.
I'm interested to see how that senator will react.
Get a
Yeah.
demotion, get fired, and get put in. I was going to say Azkaban prison, but that's the wrong series. Okay. I liked Ezra. Ezra in this episode was really good,
Mm.
even just the combat. I mean, he's a man. Amanda's fun. He's been great all season, but just, I mean, in this one, the combat was on point. The expressions, the action. I don't need to say anything else about Ezra. I think Sabine's journey came to a pretty satisfying conclusion. I know you guys have spoken about her using the Force. I didn't hate it, and I know you said that, Jack, you said that I wasn't going to hate it. I don't. I think it would be more of an issue if it was just introduced in this last little bit, but at least it's been like a season-long journey, so it's like they've been
Yeah.
foreshadowing it.
I think she just didn't prove like she actually progressed, and like it's almost like the jump was almost nothing at all. Like it just went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand that.
And it was, yeah, that's the most annoying bit about it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I liked seeing Anakin happy at the end. It's good to see him smile every now and then.
It was.
I
Yeah.
liked all the Night Sister stuff. That
Mm.
was kind of intriguing because we haven't really got that in live action before. Um, I loved so in the first episode, I said that Morgan Elsbeth was my favorite slash most intriguing character, and finally we got development of her.
Yeah,
And I'll
the-
go into why I hate it in a little bit,
Ooh.
but I love that she finally got some development because she's kind of just been this stoic. She's like my cat. She just is kind of hanging around everywhere. She doesn't do anything. She's just there.
literally.
Plot device.
Blood device. Um, the last positive I had is that it works well as an episode, but not as a finale.
Yeah.
And my score will resonate or reflect that.
Mhm.
Now I want to get onto the negatives because I really didn't like the parts of this episode. We've touched on Thrawn. I just thought he seemed very out of control in this episode. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't on top of everything like he normally is. And even you could see he was just looking very concerned and like unsure about what was going on.
Can
I think that,
I
yeah, you go.
jump in? I was just gonna say, I wonder if that was on purpose though, because he knows that Ahsoka is Anakin's apprentice.
Possibly.
Yeah, you could
Possibly.
say they got a bit nervous.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought the scene where they like got into the castle or temple or whatever it was, and then it cut to Thrawn's face.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, no, this isn't Thrawn. Thrawn
Yeah.
does not react like this.
Yeah, it was. You could like. I mean, maybe he would react like that if it was something like major that they got through or something, but it was just like the front door.
That's it. Yeah.
Well,
I
they
just,
weren't even meant to get through the front door.
no, that's I don't know. It felt my other point is it felt too easy for the characters just to even get up there and get in there. Um yeah, I said that time being irrelevant, I kind of mentioned that before. I said it was unsatisfying. Too many cliches I found in this episode.
Oh,
I
fine.
and
Yes.
I would like to mention back to Morgan quickly. I hate this when this happens. And it happened in this episode, and it happened to one of my favorite characters. You give a character development and this major thing in the last episode, and then you kill them off in the same episode.
Always happens.
What is the point? Make it a season-long development. Don't just introduce it in. It'd be like if Sabine hadn't been showing like she could not use the Force, but showing that she's at least trying, and just putting it in the last episode. Like, how
Yeah.
has that been? Like, Morgan's a good character. I think this episode, there's a lot of complexion going on with her, but now we don't get to see that because she's dead. And I mean, Ahsoka's kill on her was cool. I'll admit, it was cool. But
I was confused on that scene why they didn't just push the stormtroopers off the edge.
That's also true. But that once again, plot.
Because that's exactly what Ezra did in the episode before. He was just force pushing everyone.
yeah. So
And another I know you can say magic, but another lightsaber resistant weapon.
oh, but we saw it in the Clone Wars, so it was okay.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Did
don't
you watch
remember.
season 6?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
okay.
in season
It was
6?
it was in the Mace Windu Jar Jar Binks.
Wait, was it the same sword?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blade of Talzin.
Oh, okay.
Although I did think that in the Clone Wars it was just made of like the magic. It wasn't an actual like physical metal blade, but
And if magic, but like magic is always known in like every, science fiction, I mean, not fiction properties is always like, it always counters a lot of the known
Yeah.
weapons of the universe kind of thing. So it wasn't, it was better than Moff Gideon just destroying the Beskar. So I mean, what's it called? Not the dark saber with just his hand.
yeah,
True.
that's silly.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. So the last thing I was just gonna say is the score I'm about to tell you is not what I think of the whole season. I think it doesn't change my view of the season. I think it's been a great series. Can't wait for more because I'm gonna guess we're gonna get some. And I really enjoyed it overall. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Well, that's fine. No, that's reasonable. That's
it's fine. It's just Cooper being the lowest. Wow, that doesn't
That
happen
is
often.
That's my lowest score of the season.
It's funny because I can understand why, but then also being the finale, I think you have to be a lot harsher on it. I think that's where Cooper's going for from it. But when watching it, I was like, I reckon Cooper might actually not like this episode because I was like, every time when I think of something, people who are listening, if I remotely kind of enjoy it, just think the opposite because Cooper probably
Or
doesn't.
Cooper, yeah. If me and Jack like something, it's usually the Cooper doesn't.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
Like he still liked this episode, kind of like it's still above 5. You know what I mean? It's still, people like it, but like he's just got a lot more criticisms. Which
I agree that the season finale wasn't super satisfying, but I said this last week. I think I kind of already mentally prepared for that to happen because I could tell that's what was going to happen. So I think I just wasn't as disappointed as I would have been if I hadn't come to that conclusion.
I was also hoping that I'd be, like I was hoping I'd be proved wrong, kind of in a way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But it just went the way of the water.
Water.
Classic.
So if you've been keeping up with Instagram, we've been like keeping scores of our of our reactions to the episode. So I've compiled like the totals. Do you guys want to hear them?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So Mark, I feel like this isn't a surprise. Mark had the highest overall score.
Really?
65.2 out of 80 for the season.
Nice.
That equated to a 81% average, so that's pretty good.
Really? Oh, wait. 80. Oh, on average. Yeah. What about in total, though? What was it? 60?
65.2 out of 80.
So that's like a bit over like 66, 70% would it be about?
No, it's 81%.
I thought you said that was the average.
No, as like that was that was the total score for the percentage. I don't know. I won't say percentage. I'll just go with score then.
Yeah.
Jack, you had the second highest. You had 60.5 out of 80.
And
I had 59. Actually, no, I had 59.5 out of 80. So
wait, so Cooper was the most critical?
Yeah, but
I wasn't the most critical. I just had the lowest.
I feel like I remember Cooper saying in the first 3 episodes that he was going to keep his scores a bit lower at the start to just see how, he didn't want to place them too high and then have to go lower instead of starting from more of a 7.
Retroactively.
Which we went think Mark and I went higher at the start and then started to progressively get a bit lower.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. There's definitely trends. It kind of goes.
Yeah, episode 4. Woo!
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
Everyone spiked it at was it 4?
episode
Yeah.
five, episode
Oh,
five,
episode
and
5.
four,
That's
and
what I
four,
meant to
and
say.
four,
Sorry. Oh, wait. 4, yeah. Wait, which
four
one
and
had
five.
Anakin?
Both of them,
5.
4 and 5.
Which one was the Clone Wars one with the Clone Wars
Five,
stuff?
five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
episode
that one
5.
got pretty high scores across the board.
Yeah.
Do we have anything
True.
else you guys
Yeah,
want to chat
true.
about?
I was gonna say tune in next week for our full
Oh yeah.
season review, and we'll do our each individual scores for the episodes.
After
Yeah.
it's out, it's interesting.
Well,
Oh,
I'm glad we kind of didn't talk about it prior because it made it a little bit more tense and suspenseful. So,
yeah,
I feel like the roles were reversed a bit this episode compared to
oh yeah,
usual.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
I love it.
So anything else that you guys want to chat about?
No, more just thanks for staying tuned on this
Yes.
8-week, technically 7 weeks because we had the first 2 together. But
Mm.
yeah, thank you for staying with us and supporting us. And we hope you guys enjoyed it. Or if you didn't, let us know, of course, if you're watching on YouTube in the comments below. And yeah, nice.
I can't believe it's been nearly 2 months of this.
I know.
It's gone really fast. This
Crazy.
one felt a lot faster than Andor. I mean, Andor obviously had longer arcs, longer episodes, and kind of more episodes and stuff. But yeah, this one went crazy fast.
Yep.
Episodes.
Can we
Crazy.
agree that this was better than Mando season 3?
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
Easy.
Mando season was almost level of Boba Fett, in my opinion.
I don't remember much from Mando season 3 other than Jack Black in that episode with
Honestly,
the droids.
But I think I liked more stuff from Boba Fett than I did of Mando season 3. That's my take. I actually think there's elements in Boba Fett I thoroughly enjoyed a lot more.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my hot take, and I'm a big avid hater of that show. So
You are. You made a whole video on it.
it's so funny.
Okay, well, that kind of concludes us, but we've got something very special to announce. So if you guys have stayed tuned or have skipped to the end, which I hope you haven't, who wants to make the announcement?
I think
I reckon-
Cooper will.
Yeah, I reckon Cooper, you can.
Okay, all right. So here's the thing: we love Star Wars, right? We are massive Star Wars fans. We're so big Star Wars fans that we made a whole podcast channel about it. But the thing is, there's other properties that we like. We like Marvel, we like DC, we like Lord of the Rings, we like Harry Potter. There's other things, and there's a whole branch. It's like a big tree.
We love
There's
pop
so many
culture.
different things. A lot of pop culture.
We love pop
So-
culture.
We do love pop culture. You could go so far as to say that we are pop cultured?
Oh,
Question
wow.
mark.
I think I'd agree with that.
Well, I think this is the perfect time to announce our brand new channel, PopCultured. Can you believe it? Where we will talk all things pop culture. We're going to talk about the things I mentioned: Marvel, DC, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Transformers, all sorts of pop culture media, alongside some TV shows, and all sorts of genres,
Bits and
like action,
bobs.
adventure, bits and bobs, all across the board. So this has been in the works for a while. We're going to get some new people on, beyond just us 3, which is exciting. So broaden our horizons, get more opinions in. But we're doing this because we have so much to say about everything. We have so enjoyed this experience, or continuing to enjoy this experience. And
Yeah,
we
we're not
want
done.
to also talk, we're not done. We want to talk about other things as well. So I know Jack, he's pretty keen to start talking about DC. Mark, he probably wants to start talking about Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely.
I'm massive Harry Potter nerd, so I'm ready to get going about that. So it's a way to broaden our horizons, expand our growth. It's like a tree. We're just branching out. So we'll leave a link to the new channel in the description below. We'll post about it on social media. We'll have some video. We don't know when we're going to upload some videos. We'll probably
Yeah.
start off with something pretty basic, but
Yeah.
we just thought we'd let you know now because we're probably going to get it started. We'll get it started for the end of the year, and now seems like the right time to announce it. For those who might have stumbled across it, it's us. It's Coruscant
us.
Nights, just with more people. But
Coruscant Nights and more.
Coruscant Nights and more. But that's our big announcement. We're bringing a new media channel to you soon, very soon.
Oh, wait, I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've already got a couple videos in the works.
Oh, yeah.
So
Be prepared for more hot takes from Cooper and Jack.
well, Jack and I are planning a video called "Why Eternals is Actually Good," or why is it underrated? Why it's underrated?
Underrated,
Yeah, underrated. So
which
you know,
is a hot take for that. That's when people are already like, "No, I'm not subscribing. I refuse."
but look, I mean, we've got three others lined up at the moment. Three other people in our community. We want to keep growing a community as well. We want different opinions, different people on. We want to just, I don't know, like I said, make a community that's just
Have a conversation.
have a conversation that's about things we love, because that's what
Yeah.
we're here for. Make the most of what we can with what we have. So yeah, we'll leave links in description. We'll post about it on social media, and we're really excited to get started.
Yep, 100%.
Do you guys have any final thoughts?
Nah, not at all. Just
No.
excited.
Yeah, excited. All right, well, that'll do us. Thanks for tuning in for
Thank
the
you.
entire season of Ahsoka. We'll catch you next week with a review of the whole season, and then some new stuff coming afterwards. All right, thanks, guys. See
Thank
you.
you.
Catch you later.
Bye.